Picard and his crew go undercover when they finally reach Freecloud in the 5th episode of Star Trek Picard. From dire character fates to some surprising nods to the past, here are all the Easter eggs and references you missed in Stardust City Rag. The 5th episode of Star Trek Picard opens with easily the grisliest scene in the series so far, as an ex-Borg Starfleet officer has his ocular implants removed. While the scene would be difficult to watch no matter who it was on that operating table, it becomes even more of a gut punch when 7 of 9 arrives to rescue him and reveals that the poor guy being tortured is in fact Icheb, who was first introduced to audiences during Star Trek Voyager's 6th season.
My name was Icheb.
Your name is Icheb.
I remember now.
Icheb was one of the several young Borg drones recovered by the Voyager crew in the episode Collective, in which the ship comes across a Borg cube manned only by 5 Borg children who have been cut off from the Collective. 7 served as a surrogate parent to Icheb and the other ex-Borg children and nurtured Icheb as he demonstrated an advanced aptitude for astrophysics and voiced a desire to eventually enter Starfleet Academy. However, although an adult Icheb made an appearance in the Voyager episode Shattered, which takes place in an alternate 2394, we now know that in the prime Star Trek timeline, Icheb tragically didn't make it past 2386, although he did at some point achieve his dream of becoming a Starfleet officer. When we finally meet Dr. Bruce Maddox in the 5th episode of Star Trek Picard, he's not looking too great. Fearing for his life, the cyberneticist is hiding out on Freecloud, seeking aid from a crime lord named Bjayzl. At first, Bjayzl orders Maddox killed, but then thinks twice about it and decides to try to find out who he's running from, thinking she might profit from trading him to his pursuers. In her attempt to butter the traumatized doctor up, Bjayzl offers him a drink of Tranya, a bright yellow beverage that she keeps in a crystal decanter. Star Trek has long been characterized by its distinctive food and drink, and Tranya actually dates all the way back to the earliest episodes of the original series. The beverage first appeared in the episode The Corbomite Maneuver, in which it is offered to the crew of the Enterprise as a gesture of goodwill. Tranya has since popped up here and there throughout the Star Trek universe.
2 Tranyas, please, very cold.
Unfortunately for Maddox, the drink that was originally introduced as a way to signify trust and friendship didn't carry the same significance in Picard. Bjayzl used it to drug the scientist, rendering him unconscious so she could keep him as her prisoner. Several times throughout Stardust City Rag, characters mention that ex-Borg 7 of 9 originated in the Delta Quadrant, relaying that information with an air of near awe.
70 ex-Borg Fenris Ranger from the Delta Quadrant.
This is, of course, a reference to the mysterious area of the galaxy that served as the setting for Star Trek Voyager, where 7 of 9 was first introduced. While Starfleet has a decent presence in the other 3 quadrants of the galaxy, the Delta Quadrant is full of unknowns due to how far removed it is from the rest of the Federation. When the Voyager first became stranded in the Delta Quadrant, they estimated it would take them 75 years to return to familiar space. While in the Delta Quadrant, the crew of Voyager encountered a number of new alien species, but the most powerful force in the Delta Quadrant was actually one that had been introduced much earlier in Star Trek lore, the Borg. The Borg's first appearance was in Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, episode Q-Who, in which the alien Q flings the Enterprise deep into uncharted space, in this case, the Beta Quadrant, to prove to them that they're not yet ready to handle all the challenges of the universe.
You judge yourselves against the pitiful adversaries you've encountered so far. The Romulans, the Klingon.
Although the species originated in the Delta Quadrant, it was the first encounter with the Enterprise that prompted the Borg to travel to Federation space with the goal of assimilating its many planets. As soon as the La Sirena draws near to Freecloud, its crew becomes inundated with Star Trek version of pop-up ads, in the form of holograms that aggressively attempt to hawk their wares until they are dismissed by their targeted customer. One such ad aimed at Rios is for a maintenance service called the Red Bolian, which promises to be able to boost the La Sirena's power conversion efficiency up from 91%. Rios gets rid of the ad with a flick of his fingers, but the Bolians have a long history in the world of Star Trek. First introduced in The Next Generation Season 1, episode Conspiracy, the Bolians were named for that episode's director Cliff Bole. In that episode, it is discovered that insect-like parasites have infected a trio of Starfleet admirals and are controlling them from within, despite their normal outward appearances. In Stardust City Rag, Picard and the crew of the La Sirena all pretend to be people they're not in order to infiltrate Bjayzl's operation. 7 is also revealed to be secretly playing a very different game than Picard and the others, and at the end of the episode, Maddox is betrayed by Agnes, a person he loved and trusted. While the Red Bolian was just a silly ad, it could have also been a subtle nod to the episode's themes of misplaced trust and deceiving appearances, or maybe it was just a silly ad. There's a lot to take in when Rios first beams down to the neon-lit streets of Freecloud in Stardust City Rag, but it would be hard to miss the prominent signage from Mr. Mott's Hair Emporium. A recurring character on Star Trek The Next Generation, Mr. Mott was a Bolian barber who worked aboard the Enterprise. Despite the fact that Bolians are characteristically bald, Commander Riker had nothing but praise for Mr. Mott's skills, saying,
"He's the best barber in Starfleet. What can you do?"
Mott often took it upon himself to give Picard and other members of the Enterprise crew unsolicited advice that went far outside the bounds of his hairdressing expertise. And on a couple occasions, he actually played an instrumental role in their missions. In the 5th season Next Generation episode Unification, Mott provided the hairpieces that allowed Picard and Data to go undercover as Romulans in their search for Ambassador Spock. Of course, this seems extra significant in Picard given its focus on both Data and the Romulan people. Later in the 6th episode, Starship Mine, Picard actually claimed to be Mott, telling a group of mercenaries who had captured him,
I'm the barber.
In Stardust City Rag, Picard dresses up as a different character, albeit without a custom Mott hairpiece this time. To the left of the screen, when Rios beams down to Freecloud, is a yellow sign advertising Dabo tables, one of the many diversions offered to visitors of the Las Vegas-like city. Dabo is a Ferengi game of chance, similar to roulette.
The rules are quite simple, actually.
Although games of Dabo have been mentioned on several Star Trek shows, it was most prominently featured on Deep Space Nine, where the Dabo wheel was a fixture in Quark's bar. Despite the game's simplicity, it's actually extremely difficult to win due to the high prevalence of cheating in the game. More subtle hints of all the trickery waiting in the episode?
First rule of Dabo is watch the wheel, not the girl.
Speaking of Quark, it appears the Ferengi barkeep has successfully franchised his establishment in the years since he was a main cast member on Deep Space Nine, including a location on Freecloud. When Rios beams down to the city in Stardust City Rag, a large sign advertising Quark's bar can be seen to the right of the screen, along with the slogan, "What is yours is ours." This is likely a riff on the motto of the pleasure planet Risa, which Quark visited in the Deep Space Nine Season 5 episode Let He Who Is Without Sin. He was an enthusiastic recipient of the traditional Risian greeting, which he appears to have since appropriated for himself in a new form.
All that is ours is yours.
Quark is name-dropped again when Mr. Vup tells Rios that his references have checked out, saying, "Mr. Quark of the Ferenginar was especially satisfied with your handling of his trouble with the Breen." When 7 of 9 confronts Bjayzl in Stardust City Rag, she finally gives Picard the full tale of what happened to Icheb 13 years earlier. He was stationed as a science officer aboard the USS Coleman, but was on leave from his ship in order to help Seven attempt to maintain order among the people who had been left behind by the Federation. Icheb was on a recon mission near Dimanta when his ship responded to a distress call that turned out to be an ambush orchestrated by Bjayzl and her people. Icheb's ship, the Coleman, likely refers to a character from the original series, Dr. Arthur Coleman, who appeared in the Series 3 episode Turnabout Intruder. In the episode, the Enterprise responds to a distress call, and the away team finds an injured Janice Lester being tended by Arthur Coleman. However, the distress call turns out to be a ruse so that Lester can switch bodies with Kirk and take control of the Enterprise. Icheb's stationing aboard the Coleman nods to a similar scenario playing out with him in which he responds to a fake distress call and is ambushed so that someone else can take control of his body. Unfortunately, when in Turnabout Intruder the body swap is reversed and Coleman volunteers to care for Lester, Icheb meets a much darker fate in Stardust City Rag. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Star Trek are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.